detective. Thrill me.
Thanks for joining us again. It's the three of us, Maddie, Jared and myself, back again to finalise the Kill Bill pairing with Kill Bill Volume 2. And before we get to that, let's do a little bit of up or down. The trailer or it's a teaser trailer, I believe, for the new Saw film called Spiral has just been released. Now, this is directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who did a couple of the other Saw films, and it stars Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. What are our thoughts, Jared? Up or down on this one?
Yeah, I'm pretty keen. It wasn't a long trailer. It wasn't heavy on the details, but seems to look a little bit like it might have a 7 kind of feel to it. It seems to be going back to, again, hard to tell, but the visuals seem to be a lot of the police following him.
Yeah. It's more a thriller rather than two people trapped in
Yeah. Obviously, you still had some police kind of involvement in some of the other Saw movies, but it very quickly turned into your part of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas what it seems like here is that Chris Rock is a step behind and comes across a few of the victims of the game, which I'm interested to see again. Happy to see what his idea was, because obviously it's, well, shit, who knows, with the Saw series it could be fucking Jigsaw's alive again. But yeah, I'm really keen on it.
Yeah.
And as I said, my early fan theory is that Samuel Jackson's Jigsaw with, you like to play games, motherfucker? I wanted to start the tape and hear that, you like to play games, motherfucker? I hope that's how it starts off.
You know what? That trailer could have been pure shit. And if all it had was Samuel Jackson go, I'd like to play games, motherfucker, I am right in there. Yeah, look, it's definitely an up for me. Part of the reason is because I think Jigsaw, the one that came out a couple of years ago, it kind of proves that just because it's a Saw movie doesn't guarantee that people will just turn up.
And it wasn't one of the bad ones. It was okay.
Yeah. Whereas I'm happy to see people like Chris Rock's not noted for horror films or anything like that, so he's coming at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. We need people who are looking at this stuff and going, well, I've got an idea for it.
Yeah.
Take it in a different direction. And I'm with you, it has a real vibe of 7. And if it can capture some of that, it could be real good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got that thriller feel to it. The music's dragging you in straight away, but then you get a little taste of a trap at the end of it.
Yeah.
So you pretty much, that's half the reason people watch those
and
movies.
I'm definitely up.
You had a couple of questions about Chris Rock's face.
That's a bit of a mystery in itself.
Look, he looks a little bit. Yeah, he looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
Could it be
being unfair? It could be that he's just aged.
It could be that he's just aged. Yeah. Could it also be the goatee, the small goatee?
Yeah, I don't know. Something's just a bit off.
Rocking some sideburns.
Yeah, not sure.
Mix it up, son.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm just happy to see somebody else with an interest in the series.
I guess the positive is
that normally go for this type of stuff.
Yeah, I guess the positive is it looks like they had him on set for more than the 3 days that Danny Glover did or whatever it was the first time. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like Kenny Powers being involved with Halloween.
Yep.
You know, he obviously not a horror guy, but came in with something that threw things.
Jordan Peele, same story.
Jordan Peele, yes, definitely.
Just talented people who are looking to pitch their sort of take on this stuff.
And I think the more that you can get those sort of people involved, the better likely you're going to get something that's interesting. Especially with Saw. I mean, Christ, we are 8 films deep.
Yeah.
I mean, good Lord.
Good on you for
some of those ones are shit out. They're terrible.
Yeah, they were on a Friday the 13th schedule.
Yeah, they were yearly.
You walk out of Saw 2 into Saw 3. By the time you finish watching one, the next one's...
I mean, they were cracking those things out real quick.
Yeah.
And, yeah, there's some decent Saw films. There's some absolute shockers as well. There's some terrible stuff in there. I mean, I don't even think I saw the final one where they brought it all back together.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's do Saw, but with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm definitely.
Well, Saw is, funnily enough, Saw is one of the few series that multiple times have done something in a sequel that actually makes the previous one better.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Saw 3 sucked. It sucked. And then I watched Saw 4, and your brother told us, "Oh, check it out, it's really good." And we started laughing at him, and then I watched it and I thought, "I'll be buggered, he's right." It actually fixed a couple of things, and then I think they did the same thing with 6 because 5 was a turkey.
Was just awful, and 6 sort of filled in the gaps.
Yeah, so I'm still interested. I still have a level of interest in Saw.
All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer for Kill Bill Volume 2.
I've killed a hell of a lot of people to get to this point. I went on what the movie advertisements refer to as a roaring rampage of revenge. I roared, and I rampaged, and I got bloody satisfaction.
You've got to start becoming afraid of her because she is coming.
And when I arrive at my destination, I am gonna kill Bill.
Kill Bill Volume 2. It's written and directed by Quentin Tarantino and produced by Lawrence Bender. It stars Uma Thurman as the bride, Lucy Liu as Oren Ishii, Vivica A. Fox as Vanita Green, Daryl Hannah as Ellie Driver, David Carradine as Bill, and Michael Madsen as Bud. The budget was $30 million for the sequel as well, and $154 million worldwide. And the score, which was done by Robert Rodriguez, was done for $1. And I believe Tarantino repaid him by directing a sequence in Sin City for $1.
There you go.
All right, Maddie, let me know what you think on this one.
Well, this one's obviously not as good as the previous one. The it falls down where a big part of it is just long stretches where not a lot is happening, and I guess you came in with an expectation of what the first one was. I liked the interactions, I liked the fights, I liked that, again, the hero's so flawed and gets out of these impossible situations. So for me it was for 3.5.
3.5. I know when I first saw this film I didn't particularly like it. I hadn't actually seen it since I saw it in the cinema. Watching it again, I actually think it's his worst movie. It was a chore. It was very, very difficult to watch for me. I was slogging my way through it. It is 20 minutes longer than the first one, but yet it is just
like less
really slow. And the thing that I think got me, which really stood out, usually when I watch a Tarantino film, the dialogue is so crisp that nothing can happen for 10 minutes, but I am just... What's going to happen? Where's this going to go? And it's not the case here at all. In fact, he is basically, I don't know, seemingly enjoying himself only with these long rambling things. And Bill is just a dribbler. He's just a dribbler.
Yeah.
He just dribbles on and on and on. And that's not David Carradine's fault. He's solid. Like, he gives it gravitas as best he can.
Yeah.
But it's just crap.
Yeah.
And you go around and she just seems to go from one 10-minute talk fest to the next, and there is one blue, and it's not too bad, the one with Ellie, but other than that, that's the only thing that really occurs. And Jesus, the ending is just a letdown. Like, honestly. And I'm not saying you needed carnage, but I think you needed to pit those two against each other somewhat, and then go to the death blow as the kill move.
Yeah, which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah,
that's right.
But yeah, it was a real chore, and it's my least favourite Tarantino. Worse than Death Proof for me, and it's 2 out of 5.
2?
Yeah.
Shit.
It's a huge come down.
Yeah.
Huge.
I would agree that it's a big step back. It comes down to, as you said, Maddie, she says at the very start, revenge isn't a straight line, but he goes too far off track, I think. Going from fight to fight and taking your revenge that way just worked so well in the first one that it just seems like a curious kind of decision to step away from it and almost abandon it in some ways.
Well, pretty much.
Because there was still some really strong stuff that fit perfectly. I really liked the Pai Mei stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really liked the fight. I liked that Elle double-crossed Bud.
I like the fact she dug herself out of the grave.
Yeah, and it all tied into the training and everything.
But what I was saying,
like Bud being a shit kicker and like security guard in a dead end, nothing.
What I said to
Yeah.
Maddie before we got on air was, you take 30 minutes out of this,
Yeah.
put it in the first one, you've got an absolute
And I
rocking
wonder-
film that covers the whole thing.
Like, I wonder how much of it was stretching it out because we're doing it in 2 movies
Yeah.
instead of making the 1 3-hour epic or something
Yeah.
like that. I don't know how much did that played a part. I didn't do any research into that because I don't research. But
It's not it's not our street.
You kind of summed it up when you said that. You summed it up when you said that there's so many Tarantino movies where he can stop and indulge himself with those little conversations, like Reservoir Dogs, for example.
Yeah.
The conversations in the diner
Yeah.
that tell you a little bit about the characters, but spend some time just talking some shit.
Yeah.
But it's crackling, and you sit there and you're wrapped right up in it. These ones, some of them go for longer. Some of Bill's stuff felt like 20 minutes plus. Like, I don't know.
There's a
it just
conversation with a
dragged.
guy in Mexico
Yeah.
to find out where Bill is.
Yeah, Michael Parks.
And like Parks is just dribbling.
I didn't mind that one
I
because it was
remember
Michael
just sitting
Parks.
there going, get fucking on with it. Like,
Yeah.
get on with it.
No, I actually
We don't
think
need
when
this
she
guy.
got to Bill, the initial shock of the kid being there and whatever, I think it fell apart from there, and the movie still had like 40 minutes to go.
Yeah, the last 45 minutes are in Bill's house, and quite frankly,
It's as boring as
he is telling a story about the worst one was the frog, the frog story, and I'm just thinking, I understand when he finally gets to the end of it and he explains how it connects to her, I understand it, but I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Quentin, you seem to have lost the plot. You're indulging in something for yourself,
Yeah.
not for the paying public, which is what you got out of the first one. You
Yeah.
delivered exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
And I understand you love these films, but
But if you go back and watch the films that he's paying homage to and did so well in the first one, I know he wants to put his own spin on it and it's his
yeah,
bit of art, but it doesn't resemble any of them other than that stretch with Pai Mei, and
yeah.
everything else is just completely different. So I didn't hate it. I was probably around where Maddie was. There was points where I was at the middle section. I was probably sitting at 3.5, but the last 40 minutes I dragged it back to a 3 for me, I reckon.
Yeah, it really. I mean, I'm probably being harsh, but I just didn't enjoy it at all. And I remember sitting there just going, when is this going to end?
It's partly what you said, though. Like, it's a setup.
As Freddy 4.
I did give it the same score as Freddy 4. They're on
When you
different.
put it in that context, it's probably not fair. But
But they're on different scales, mate. They're on different scales. They're not on the same scale. I'll tell you right now, I was not bored by Freddy 4. I was bored silly.
I just think partly it is, as you said,
Yeah,
he
people-
set something up.
People argue, things like Pieces.
Pieces is
love
wildly
Pieces.
entertaining.
You love Pieces.
Still haven't
but it's a
seen
shit
it.
movie, like,
Still haven't seen it.
Like Gibbo was following up, when we did the podcast. Like, how can you guys, we said it was a shit movie, but we loved it. How can you love it? It's a terribly made movie, but it's entertaining. This is a very well-made movie that is not
We
entertaining.
better do like a revisit.
Yeah.
Maddie's reactions to Pieces.
Yeah, that's right. And that's where they're on different scales too. They're on different scales, but this was. You
can only give it stars on your enjoyment.
Yeah,
of the
you're
movie,
coming
I
from
suppose.
4.5 to 5,
Yeah.
and then you just turn off all that was good.
I remember
about it.
being so excited when this came out. I just wanted to see it so badly, and
I mean, if we're comparing,
That's right.
production values and artistic
of course.
things, we're comparing apples and turds.
But yeah, look, I didn't enjoy it. I'm not going to say that. I'm not. Look, it's to going into the likes. It's as stylishly directed as the other one.
Yeah.
Like, the man knows what he's doing. Fuck, I mean, his directorial form is great. He always picks really well with his shot selections, and he does some really interesting things with it. And he is still being reverent to the kung fu films of that he that he's obviously he enjoyed and he's paying homage to.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that he never drops the style, and he doesn't change it drastically to be something else.
Yep.
Because these movies were obviously, I don't know whether they were shot at the same time or
Yeah, I think they were. Pretty sure they were.
Because that's an even bigger blunder for me. Because that
could've
tells
put it all
me
in
here
together.
you were. We could have got 2.5, 2:45, one film, and you've got the best of it all.
Yeah, but I think that was Harvey and co making that call, wasn't it?
Maybe. Trying to squeeze out more out of it.
And they did the same thing with Grindhouse when it underperformed
Yeah.
as one big thing. They split it up. So
'Cause
I think he had limited say in that.
I agree what you were saying about Bud. He's a loser.
I loved him.
But I found him, Bill, and Ellie ultimately less interesting than the other two.
But they're
In the
like the
first movie.
complete. I found him and Ellie, Bud and Ellie, like the complete opposites. Like Bud's like wallowing in the depression. What have I done? And he's just built this shit life around him because of what he's done to other people. Ellie's like the snake. I should have been the mumbo. I should have been the top dog. And
Yeah.
She
If
does
I'm
have
honest,
some interesting.
Vivica Fox was the worst one.
Yeah,
But that
I guess that's the opening salvo.
and
isn't
that was
it?
probably a dislike that I forgot to mention for the first one. How the fuck did she miss that shot? I thought you were an expert.
Yeah, definitely.
You got the
Don't
jump
be
on
a
her.
minor.
She doesn't have a gun.
a Fruit Loop.
She missed it by a foot.
I guess Vivica Fox could have been interesting had he explored her further.
But I think
But he didn't. He
served
wasn't
it
going
there.
to.
Well, the thing was, I think he made the right call. I thought she was the least interesting, so she got offed in the first fight scene, basically. So we didn't spend as much time with her. I agree with Maddie. I think that Bud and Elle were interesting, but I feel like perhaps we spent a little more time with them. I think if it was a little more compact, like it was with Oren Ishii, and because she got the backstory, which was awesome, the anime backstory, and then we spent
time with
a
her,
chunk of time with her, but a lot of it she wasn't even on the screen.
Yeah.
She was just, we had a little interaction, then the massive blue, and then we're back to her.
Is it fair to say Bill's the least interesting?
I found him complicated.
When
He's got all of this power and control over these dynamic people. Like there's
Yeah, but it's not explored. This is what I mean. Like we get
it's there,
45
though.
Well,
minutes.
it is.
Well, we've got 45
He becomes
minutes
less
to-
interesting when you sit with him for an extended stretch and have a
He's
conversation
sitting there for 45
instead of
minutes.
just these couple of minutes of great
And that's
lines.
why it worked in the first one, because we got tiny little chunks of Bill. He was this overseer,
Yeah.
and it was golden.
But
She
isn't
was
that-
after him. What has he done? You know, what's the go here? Why? What's the whole deal?
Isn't that
here?
on purpose though? It's
Yeah,
like
and it's on purpose. But when he gets to it here, he fucking fumbles the pill.
I just found right at the end, you've come to the end of 2 movies, in all of this exposition, all of these battles, all these people have had their lives taken away or destroyed or whatever, and he just explains it with, I guess I overreacted. I loved it.
That's
But I mean that part, that stuff
But
worked.
don't talk for 45 minutes about
Yeah,
it.
but I think that's part of the journey, right? He's gone through this obviously this horrific stuff that he's done to his colleague and partner and mother of his kid, and then he just explains it all away with, I guess I overreacted. He's just like,
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't kind of. I liked Bill. I liked parts of this movie too, but that stretch in his house was just too much.
is
I
that
felt like
just
it was
trying to?
just
Is that them trying to say?
But why did
The old relationship is just
But this
pick up
is the
where we
thing.
left off.
This is
and
the thing
I think it was,
It just didn't work.
but the conversation with, like some of the stuff with the daughter worked, and when she comes in and he's pretending to have a gunfight,
Yeah.
I liked that, and I liked, as you said, the conversation did add to these complex feelings that she had. And you could see in the moment she didn't know whether what she was doing was the right. I mean, even after she's done the heart thing, she's like smiling at him and kind of.
Yeah.
But
crying and all smiling.
that story that he tells, and it goes on forever, and it's just not. I think Tarantino is so good with the dialogue that I've never really. You don't experience a lot where sometimes you just kind of. You do the Homer Simpson and you're sitting there and you go, and then you're like, oh shit, what was he talking about again? And that just doesn't happen in Tarantino movies, but it happened there.
Yeah.
The thing for me is, if they'd have condensed this down to 90 minutes or 80 minutes, I probably would have been far less scathing.
Well, even like
Because my thinking would have been, we got
another
big-
2 hours. Another 2 hours. You chop 15 minutes. You probably chop it out of that one.
I wanted
section.
more.
It's all right.
But for me, I could have said, okay, yes, we got to the heavy duty stuff in the first film, so the fights and all that shit. The second one's going to be explaining the complex relationships, and if you give me 80 to 90 minutes of that, and you throw in the blue in the middle with Ellie and being
But see, that's part of the flaw. I think the second one needed some more of the fights and the complex relationship stuff. What had started in the first one?
Could he have better chopped the two up?
Possibly.
You know, switch some things from the first movie to give it pacing, because it feels
think
like
so.
this one is glacially paced. Glacially.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's
I
not
think a big part
Tarantino.
of that's the music, to be
Yeah,
honest.
you're spot on. The music, they went away from the Raza and went to Rodriguez, and Rodriguez is pretty ordinary. It doesn't
hold it.
have anything.
I mean, the first one, you finish watching the first one, and the next 2 days you'll find yourself whistling the thing. You'll find yourself walking around going, dun, 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 dun. Like all of the music that's in there, it's memorable.
Yeah.
And the second one, I don't even think I could.
It's that
I can't hear any melodies in my head.
Spot
The
on.
whole thing.
It's basically a spaghetti western soundtrack, and it's not very good.
Yeah.
No.
And
Yeah, the RZA should have stayed
the
around.
RZA,
for
the
second
RZA was
one.
a really good choice, and well, for whatever reason, maybe they wanted to switch it up because maybe they felt the second one's more the spaghetti western style, which it probably is.
Which happens in some spaghetti westerns. They're travelling on a horse for a while, and you're just like, come on, guys.
I do like Bud's dialogue about, the woman
She
deserves her revenge,
yeah.
and we all
Yeah.
deserve to die.
Yep, definitely.
I thought that stuff was that was quite good. I actually kind of got a surprise by Bud deceiving her with the shotgun in the trailer, because I'd forgotten that occurs. I just assumed he was quickly dispatched. I'd actually forgotten about how he died.
Yeah.
And she just whips in there, and I'm thinking, she's going to cut him down, and he's waiting right there with the shotgun and gives it to her. I thought that was cool. And the burying of her alive, I was having fucking nightmares. I'm just thinking that'd be the worst way to die.
Yeah.
Absolute
I was
worst.
initially I was thinking like, oh, here we go again. They got her dead to rights, but you've just got to rub it in a bit more. But then when it goes to the burying and stuff, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that
Not
actually
me.
works.
Nobody's
pretty well.
getting out of that.
And
Really,
Ellie
it's like
Driver's
something.
saying, she needs to suffer till her last breath, and I'm thinking, there's not really a worse way that.
Yeah.
Because buried alive, you're obviously. You're not going to go very quickly, and you're going to suffer doing it, but you're going to have all that time to fucking think about it too. And
so I thought that was really cruel, but it was really interesting, like a cool way of doing it, and the whole idea of she suffers till her last breath. And normally, as you say, oh yeah, she's got her dead to rights, and then we'll do something stupid, and she'll get out of it. Well, really, there's not much of getting out of that.
Yeah.
And admittedly, they had to pull in all the training and stuff, but I still felt that stuff was cool. I love the fact that she double-crossed Bud and put the fucking mumba in the cash.
yes,
Ouch!
And the
I'm
little
also
spiel she
thinking-
gives when he's fucking sitting there with a bloated face,
Convulsing.
dying, and she's just. That was again some classic sort of Tarantino.
I'm also thinking
She was great.
I'm
She was
also
really
thinking, should you look around just to make sure that thing's not near you?
Yeah, well, everyone was very blasé about that thing
Exactly.
fucking getting around there. Oh shit!
Just kill the bloke in front of
Look,
you.
I don't like snakes. I'm jumping outside and fucking torching the little unit. I'm just blowing that shit up straight away.
Yeah.
I'm not chancing it.
And for me, my last like was the fight.
Fuck, you've whipped through them, haven't
Yeah,
you?
because I didn't have a lot. Because the rest of it I found just as padding and just nothing.
You didn't like Pai Mei at all?
No, I enjoyed Pai Mei because that was the training stuff. That was, I sort of appreciate that because I did that pretty quick. That was one of the ones where I was thinking, yeah, look, he got that right. He condensed that nicely.
That was one of the
about
few parts that really
6 or 7 minutes.
That one, that's one of those sections that fits beautifully with the first one.
Yeah,
too, and
and
feels
he was
like the
kind of
same
like
movie.
showing us what she'd learned.
It was so funny too, like just trashing everything she says and does, and then like leaping on her sword and fucking like all that stuff was awesome.
Yeah.
Owns her arm.
Yeah, that's right. If I own
all
it,
that
I want it to
stuff-
be strong.
That stuff was all good, and that's what I mean. Take the portions,
Yeah.
put them in the first movie, and you got 2.5 hours of absolutely rollicking stuff.
The way that they tied that up to, that was one of the places where the chapters work really well, because they call it the I can't remember what they call it, the death of Paula Yates, or the grave
the grave,
Paula Schultz, sorry.
Paula Schultz.
And so the whole time I'm thinking, what's this Paula Schultz shit?
Yeah.
And then you see the grave and you're like, and then it nips off to the flashback. You're like, how did we get here? When she's thinking about this bloke when she's dying, and then it all, after a solid 10 sort of minutes, it all comes back to the fist stuff. And
I also love the fact that she plucked her eye out.
Yeah.
And it had been done. She said, what made him do it? I told him he was a stupid old fool. And then I fucking poisoned him.
Yes.
Poisoned his dinner. And he's there going, you bitch. He's got this white froth around his mouth. And he's going, oh, you bitch.
He would have lived for another 1,000 years, that bloke.
So all that stuff was cool.
I liked his look.
His look, and the fact that he would hold the beard, and then you'd hear the sound effects of like whoosh, like
a scarf. He had that beard like a scarf.
Yeah,
it was the best.
That was awesome.
His eyebrows, even. My uncle's got eyebrows.
Hopefully they're that white. That really sets it off. I think this might be just a like for me, because you've already expressed that you hated it.
Michael Parks?
Michael Parks.
It was him.
There's problems about them, adding some colour to his face and making him play a Mexican. There's some issues around that. But he's just, I find the guy endlessly entertaining. Unless I'm watching Tusk. He was fucking dreadful in that, when he's pretending to be mentally handicapped at one point.
Christ.
We'll leave that one out. Just drop that one off the CV, Michael. But just about anything else, I can just watch the bloke all day.
I enjoyed at the beginning where they give you a bit more detail about what happened in the church.
Oh yeah, that whole game was really good.
That whole game of we know what's going on, but nobody else in there. Can you just please let me go?
Yeah,
there's that sense of begging at that point.
I also remember the first time I watched it, and I'm a bit the same as Adam. I haven't watched it in quite a while, the second one, but the first time I saw it, I remember not liking that they immediately went from keeping Bill off screen, like not showing his face, to then showing him. But watching it here, I felt like they did it at the right time.
Yeah, of course.
Like putting it in at that sequence, and then having him, as you said, go through those motions of, still kind of expressing that he owns her in a way, like saying that he's going to let it. She's begging him, and then him fucking turning on her again, like that stuff. I really like that scene. So.
I think it was a nice way to bring Bill into it. In this whole context of she's telling everyone, oh, it's my father, and he's here. We couldn't get in touch with him. He'd been in Australia, and she's lying through her teeth, and he's going along with it, and he's trying to be all.
And they've just got that rapport.
And sort of, I'll pay for dinner and all this sort of shit, and then he turns on it.
And then the shots of like the out the front of the church, and then you see the Viper Squad start walking in there,
and then it just pulls back. The camera goes up high, and you just hear the bullets. And look, that stuff again. That's another coming back to the fact that it's so stylish and so well done. But I think you had to put. I think putting Bill there was in full was good, and I think Carradine. That's him. That's his best. That's his best sequence in the role. He kind of brings this kind of world-weary, fatherly sort of attitude, and he kind of has a bit of a laugh, and with the husband to be, which is just underlying tension. Is this guy's going to fuck them over in a second?
Yeah.
And you're just waiting for when he's going to do it, when he's going to actually do the.
And there's moments even in that conversation where you can tell he's about to crack. And
So and they still kept, they kept a lot of their relationship kind of mysterious. All you really knew was that they had the baby.
Yeah.
The talk about the baby.
Yeah.
You didn't know much beyond that. And that sequence sort of fleshed a lot of it out and added to what you understood their relationship to be.
And that's what I mean. That's the kind of Tarantino dialogue I'm talking about. Like, nothing's happening there. Like, we know that it's going to lead up to something, but he doesn't even show gratuitously what happens inside the church. He kind of pulls away from it. So that stuff, it was good. That was crisp. That was the kind of thing that you expect from Tarantino.
Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson C+.
Definitely. Anything with Sammy. Yeah. Just 2 minutes.
It felt slightly not required, but I was happy to see the bloke there. I also loved when he's sitting there going, "I've been a drifter. I've been just rattling off these bands. Yeah, they came through town. I played with them."
Yeah, I love Sammy. He could, be in it for fucking two seconds, mate, and I'd be happy with that. So yeah, he always good to see. Any other big likes here?
I think I've discussed most of mine. Obviously, your list is a mile long over there.
No, my dislikes, I've already just thrown a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Pacing is way off. Way off.
Yeah, it just feels much more uneven and more.
It's like he couldn't.
Spots.
I get this sense that he didn't want to cut things. Because conversations go much longer than they should.
Yeah.
And some of it's probably sparkling, but I think the issue for us pea-brained idiots like me is
we need to see some limbs getting cut off somewhere.
Well, no, once the conversation starts to go too long, I've lost interest even in the sparkling stuff. And I'm like, this is fucking too long. Let's move.
See, I don't mind the as I said, the other movies that he's done, some of those conversations are pretty long. But you are hooked, you're in, you want to hear it. I got to a point with Bill where I didn't want to hear him talking anymore.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. It's not as sparkling as, because the first movie's not dialogue heavy.
No.
Like, there's not long...
But the stuff that is said is good stuff.
Yeah.
The first one's just these mini films.
Yeah.
And
this one feels more like it's a whole package that he has put together where I'm going to explain everything that goes on. It's going to be more dialogue heavy, and you've got to have to cop that. You got all the bloods and blood flying and the limbs getting hacked off in the first movie. So this is the exposition. But yeah, it just felt like it didn't hit like it does with his other.
And there wasn't any of the side characters. He didn't have your Go-Go or
no.
There was none of that. So
yeah, because it was specifically Bud, Ellie, Bill, and the bride. Essentially, that was the 4 players.
Yeah. He did a good job. You'd have like a
Mexican Michael Parks.
You'd get this side character you get a side character and a mini background story.
Yeah. And you'd have her friends at the church. They were there. The guy who was officiating the wedding was kind of a little side. They had little portions of people.
Yeah.
But no long running or anybody who sort of was involved.
I actually thought when she first went to talk to Michael Parks, I thought, they make a point of mentioning how he was running the town brothel.
Yes.
And his gang was made up of all the orphans of the girls that worked there.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to come up. I thought there was going to be a fight with them.
No.
Probably the right move, not to just copy like the crazy 88 stuff, but I was kind of just hoping, she's going to get to cut a swath again, and I just want to see some more of that.
And even the crazy 88 in the first movie, they had limited things to do, but you kind of, they brought a couple of them out on, here's this guy, he's another one of the assassins, the guy with the 2 swords fighting her. There were side characters and they're barely in it, but they just had a little bit of personality, a little bit of something to offer.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel this had any of that. And, my problems all stem from the fact that I think the pacing's an issue. There's one sequence where they're sitting around a fire and Bill's playing a fucking flute. And I was just fucking going, oh, Bill, just go away.
Just go back to the shadows.
Yeah, go back to the shadows. And again, not knocking David Carradine, because I think he does a good job with what he's given. But those things are where it feels like Tarantino couldn't cut it. And maybe it's because he kind of, that's one of my favourite scenes. Not, that's actually bogging things down. If I'm watching this in full, that's bogging things down. So a lot of it had to do with pacing, and a lot of my problems had to do with the dialogue didn't cut the air like Tarantino's known to do. I mean, fuck, mate, there's a sequence in Pulp Fiction where they're talking about pigs. It goes on for like 10 minutes, but I remember sitting there going, this is awesome. And I just didn't get that here.
I actually had another scene that I felt could have chopped a couple of minutes out. Was Bud in the strip joint.
Yeah, that was a bit long.
I sort of liked getting to know what he was up to,
And the
But I
whole idea
felt
of,
like-
you've been fired, you're not
Yeah.
on next week, you're on tomorrow.
But
right?
so that was the
That's
part.
funny, yeah.
That was the part I didn't like. Like, it was kind of funny when he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you working then?" No, you're not. And like,
He was
just
getting
kind of rubbing him
dressed
off.
down.
But yeah, But then I sat there and I'm kind of like, okay, so what's this adding? What's it doing for the character? And as you said, it's sort of kind of showing that he's in a bit of a.
But I actually
it's
thought
like
he was
he's
going to
lost the-
explode in rage and belt the bloke, and that might have shown us he still had all
Well,
the
yeah, and
fire in him.
it started off like one of those Tarantino scenes where the dialogue's starting to go when he starts going, you know,
Monday,
what
working?
makes you think you can roll in here 20 minutes late? And he starts giving him the, I'm the bouncer, and there's
no one
nobody
here
here
to
to bounce. And I thought, yeah, we're going to get some of these cool, like, entertaining lines, and it was kind of funny, but then I was sort of like, why did we need it to this extent? 'Cause
The
it
only
seems to
thing
go-
it set up was that he actually had the Hatari Hanzo sword. He
Yeah.
hadn't hocked it.
Yeah.
Because they've set him up as this shit kicker that needed $500 and he's got
Yeah,
rid of
yeah.
this priceless sword to do it. But he had it hiding in the golf clubs, like in his
Yeah.
caravan.
And I did love, I
Well,
must
that
admit,
stuff I could have done with him in the strip club and getting a bit more of that stuff. I just felt it went a bit long.
I'm just remembering there was one really good line from Ellie Driver where she says that woman, this one of the toughest warriors, going around, gets killed by a fucking shit kicking bloody piece of crap like you, and
Yeah.
she deserved better. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, look, I totally agree. We needed limited info about the fact that he was he was a bouncer. All we need to know is he was a bouncer at a strip club. Could have been a throwaway scene because we knew he was down on his like scumbag.
Yeah.
But it felt like he also wanted to be down on his luck. He felt like
yeah.
he tired of all that shit, and he was talking about how
He just kept taking it. And
Yeah.
he could have unleashed and killed everyone himself.
Yeah, and that I feel like you could have got that in a little bit of it more concise.
Yeah.
Similar scene, but maybe not spend as much time arguing over he's going to do this. Oh, so and so's got
You're
a
not
job. You got to
working
go and clean the turds. Like,
Yeah. It just because I felt like he was going to explode in rage and hit the bloke to showcase he still had some of that fire from his days of being part of the Viper Squad sort of thing. But it didn't even come to that. It was just kind of showing, look, he just takes shit now. He couldn't care less. He likes sitting in his trailer making fucking margaritas and,
Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
yeah. It was just kind of like he was done.
Because
He
even
just
that
wanted
interaction
to-
between him and Bill sets that tone too. He's kind of like, we haven't spoken in a couple of years, and I know that when we left each other it was not pleasant.
Yeah.
And you're sort of wondering, well, what was But Bud's kind of pretty much sort of saying, listen, just fuck off, I don't want you here. So I again, Tarantino never... He never just puts shit in there for no reason.
Yeah. The whole time you're watching Bud, you're like, does he deserve to die? Like, he's sort of living this shit life, and he like
It's almost like he's died already. It's like he's had enough of.
He's got some respect for us still.
Yeah, definitely.
But when he still fights for his life when the opportunity comes, he'll shoot you in the front.
Yeah. And look, again, as I said, Tarantino never does things for no reason, but he missed the mark with a lot of this.
There's too many gaps in there. You're right. You get stuck and you lose what's going on.
And you're trying
at
to
points.
You're hoping that he'll get right and will move the pacing forward, especially when Elle turns up. But even those sequences, which I enjoyed, they did also go on for too long.
The other thing that other thing that I didn't like is they put so much focus on the Hanzo swords still, and I didn't see anyone get cut in half in Kill Bill 2. We kept talking about the Hanzo sword. Nobody got cut. Nobody lost a limb.
Nobody the caravan with a sword, which is like the most impractical weapon there.
Yeah. Yep.
And I did.
I thought we had to have some more of the fight stuff. We're still on the same. We're still talking about the Hanzo. It's so important. We need to see how fucking dangerous this is again. I just felt like there was some of that needed.
And don't get me wrong, I love the fact that her and Ellie sort of throw down in like a brawl, and they kind of get their swords. They come face to face, and then she just plucks her eyeball out.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're expecting they're gonna actually face off, and there's gonna be some sword play. But then she just plucks her eyeball out.
Yep.
I thought
and
that was
goes,
cool.
So she, Ellie goes fucking bananas.
Yeah.
She's screaming.
You fucking bitch!
So good.
I thought she was going to get bitten by the snake. I thought she was going to stumble out and get bitten by the snake.
But that was cool because it kind of it's circumvented the expectations. The idea would have been that, they are going to sword fight it out.
And it's sort of set her up as the master now. It's sort of set her up as like,
it's kind of, the
Pai Mei did this, so he got one of them. I'm going to get the other one.
Had taken it to the next level or finished it off. Or
especially given the way he talked about it, how he was like, your arm is mine now. And you're thinking he probably said, he's had some sort of spiel similar to Ellie's, your eye's mine or whatever. And then so Beatrix did it to her. Like,
Yeah. Even at the end, so he taught you that, did he? Yeah. So he taught it to you. Like this.
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
And so, my issues were more about very much dialogue, very much pacing, and my feeling that, like you, we perhaps should have taken the whole lot and, if you're going to do 2 volumes, mix it up a little bit better.
I think they ended up doing that in the end, didn't they? There's one called the whole bloody affair or the whole affair or something. I think it's just like a supercut almost.
Right. And it's probably what?
I don't know too much about it.
Must be 3 hours or more.
Yeah, I think it's just the whole thing mashed together. I don't know whether bits are taken out.
Just one David Carradine speech.
Christ, if it was 3.5 hours, I'd need a Harry Hanzo sword to bloody kill myself.
Just fucking fall on it.
Oh god. Yeah, that's what should have happened. It should have been like Flying High. He starts telling that story about the frog, and we look over and she's dousing herself in gasoline.
Bill, just give me a second. Thank God we've still got the Hanzo steel laying around.
Yeah. Any other dislikes, people?
No, I think that was pretty much it. It was mainly, as we mentioned before, the drop off in the music and the fights and things. Just
the Johnny Cash tune in it. I can't remember which one.
Yeah. It was at the trailer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember. But look,
I got excited about that.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
For me, it's harsh. My score is harsh because it's such a come down.
Yeah.
It is such a come down for me. And I felt like similar to the way I felt when watching Death Proof. I was just like, you are self-indulgent here because Death Proof was the same. Remember, you had all that stuff about the feet and all that sort of crap, and I remember
those lengthy conversations about Vanishing Point.
And I just remember thinking, this isn't like the audience is not everyone's going to be a Vanishing Point person or anything like that. You've got to and I think he understood it with the first one. It's 70s kung fu films and all that stuff, but he nailed it and he got it kind of in a position where mainstream audiences would love it. And I think that's the reason why it's $30 million less at the box office too.
Yeah.
Because people sort of went, oh.
They came out upset,
Not upset maybe, but more slightly disappointed, underwhelmed.
Everyone was underwhelmed, yeah.
And I think you'd find that, but I believe the Rotten Tomatoes scores are very similar in the 90s.
Yeah, I think they're pretty close. Well, Roger Ebert gave them both 4 out of 4. I'm just sort of like, I just can't see it with the second one.
Yeah. But again, each to their own. But for me, it was just...
Yeah, I had someone tell me they liked the second one more. I was like, no, that's not,
that's not right.
Yeah.
All right. That is Kill Bill, both volumes 1 and 2. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify and Podomatic. Send us an email at thrillme@ionet.net.au. We're on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. We are also on Instagram at Thrill Me Podcast AU. Keep an eye on the Facebook page for our next episode and details of any new up-and-coming films we're going to cover. But until then, take it easy and we will catch up with everyone later. Cheers.
Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at ionet.net.au.